proud for Clara, we're very proud of the Cowan family, and we're especially proud of Brian.
Hi Brian, congratulations, and I hope you get on really well.
This is Christy Gagan here. I'd like to congratulate Brian Cowan on becoming Taoiseach. It's a great honour for the town of Clara, and we're all delighted, and he's one of our own.
Hi, well, I'd just like to say congratulations to our Taoiseach Brian Cowan on behalf of myself, Barry Flynn, my wife Siobhan, and the rest of the Flynn family. Best of luck, Brian. No bother to you.
Congratulations, Brian, from the Duffy family in the Green. The best of luck. The best man got the job.
Brian, the best of luck from JJ Galvin's. Very proud of you, and you're going to do very, very well, you and Mary and the kids.
I'd like to congratulate Brian on behalf of all the Corney family and wish him the very best of luck.
Well, I'd like to wish Brian all the best and congratulate him on his great achievement, and wish him and the wife and the family all the best, and hope to have a happy time as Taoiseach.
The town of Clara is situated on the River Brosna in the heart of the Midlands, and became a famous trading town in the early 19th century. Its proximity to both the Grand Canal and the Brosna played a significant part in Clara's industrial development. Clara has been home to many successful industries, such as distilleries, breweries, cotton and linen weaving, and the manufacturing of tobacco, soap and candles. The flour mills was one of the most noticeable industries in the history of Clara, employing large numbers from local areas for many years. Around 1825, the Goodbodys, an English family, purchased the flour mills and took the industrial growth of the town to the next level. They expanded their operations to jute manufacturing, and at its peak they employed over 1,000 workers. Apart from their industrial involvement in the town, the Goodbodys also largely contributed to the growth of Clara as a community. At this time, most of the local population was employed by them, along with many workers from the surrounding areas. The Goodbodys also provided housing for many of their employees. They owned many fine homes themselves in Clara, which are still in use today, and the family became an influential part of Clara. Their involvement in the town continued until the closing of the jute manufacturing plant in 1984. Up to now, Clara has been internationally known for Clara Bog. Situated south of Clara, its rare species of flora have gained it national and international attention, classing it as one of the finest specimens of this type in Europe. It is now considered a natural nature reserve. The electing of Brian Cowan as Taoiseach of Ireland has now definitely put the small town of Clara on the international map.
Congratulations, Brian, from everyone in Otmore and the Rooneys and Tracy's in Otmore.
On behalf of the Mullen family, congratulations to Brian. Fantastic achievement for a Clara man, and we wish him all the best of luck in the future.
Just on behalf of the lads in the Tap Brass and myself, we'd like to wish Brian the very best in his new job and hope it works out for him.
On a part of the Meehan family, we offer our sincere congratulations to Brian.
I'd like to say congratulations to Brian from all the Berry family and Buckley families from Cloughan as well, and best of luck to you, and I hope everything goes really well.
I'd like to wish Brian all the best in the future from all in Ballycumber. Thank you.
Congratulations, Brian. Josephine McCormick, your old neighbour from River Street, Clara. The best of luck, Brian, and God bless.
Congratulations, Brian. We're so happy to have your Taoiseach. You deserve every bit of it. From Anne Rabbit and Paddy and all the Rabbit family.
I'd like to congratulate Brian on a great achievement, and hope everything goes well for him in the future. All the best from all the Tracys in the Green.
We just want to congratulate Brian, and we're so proud of him. He's going to do the town proud.
I want to say congratulations to Brian Cowan. He's a very good friend of mine and everybody here, and I'm very excited about it. I'm very proud of him.
From myself and the people in the swimming pool, I wish him the best of luck. And she was the President of Ireland and not Taoiseach.
Just like to say how proud we all are of Brian, Mary, the kids, May, Barry, Christy. It's a proud day for the whole family. Unfortunately, there's family members missing. We'll remember them today and toast them later on tonight.
the little town of Clara, I'm longing for to see. For there's not a spot in Ireland that's half so dear to me. I recall the years I lived there, sure I never wore a frown. Happy were my boyhood days on the streets of Clara town. Frederick Street I used to ramble with a young girl by my side, close by the Brosna River, where tranquil waters glide. We could see St. Anthony's College from the bridge at Charlestown. Golden memories still linger on the streets of Clara town. The old mill and the courthouse are a part of history's page. At the hall I often listen to a witty Clara sage. Then I'd make my way up River Street and call to Christie Count. There I drink to health, to freedom, and the streets of Clara town. The flour mills are now silent, no more workers to be seen. Some people call that progress in this little isle of green. At the railway station we would gather to watch the trains run up and down. They brought back many exiles to the streets of Clara town. The years keep rolling onward and the old ways disappear, but the chapel bell reminds us of the values we hold dear. One wish I hope God grants me before the wheel of life runs down is to meet with my old comrade on the streets of Clara town. Yes, to meet with my old comrade on the streets of Clara town.
This is Joe Cullen speaking here now, president of the COWEN.
Joe, you would have went around with his father though and all them and
grandfather, yeah.
And drank with them all.
Every one of them, yeah. Back through the years, yeah.
So your occasions back here years ago would have been probably like when Burr was going to be TD. That was a big thing that time.
Oh, big thing, yeah. Every inch of the way, yeah.
This is one of the
vice president.
She's
the president.
You collected it in the mill house, and I was only a young lad.
Exactly.
Am I right about that?
Did you buy a ticket off me then?
Well, I kind of got one for nothing that time, but Jill paid for it anyway. But you would have been with Burr as well, wouldn't you?
Yes, I was secretary to Burr County COWEN some years back when Burr was alive.
Is it a great day for Clara?
Absolutely great day for him.
And it's great. You remember Brian when he was younger, probably.
And I was there on the night he was elected to stand for the Dáil.
Surely, it must be a great day for you now.
It's a marvellous day.
Yeah, and
marvellous day.
And you're going to march today with us as well.
Definitely marching.
You're wearing the Brian COWEN t-shirt now.
Yeah, Sean.
And I just want to say, it's a very proud day for Clara, isn't it?
Absolutely, brilliant day.
And did you ever think Brian would be the Taoiseach?
Yeah, always knew he would be.
Yeah, an awful lot of people say that, but
absolutely, yeah.
We didn't think it'd come around as quick.
That's true, but I mean, thank God it did.
Vincent Cummins, I just want to say, you made posters for the Fianna Fáil since you were a young lad.
I did. The first time I in COWEN
took to the road. I made the posters out in the Harney and Bandamere.
And how many years ago was that, Vincent?
Oh, what is it, 1984 was it that he... Was that the year?
Yeah, that was the year. 24 years ago.
That's right.
Did you ever think that he'd be Taoiseach?
Oh, I did, of course.
Well,
Well, not Taoiseach, but I knew he'd go far.
You always knew he had that potential.
Oh, he had it all, yeah.
Yeah, he had a great go on him. He's a great people's man, isn't he?
Finest. Good playing man, isn't he?
Ah, he is, yeah. And Cummins is a great fan of all people.
My father was one of the members that formed the first Fianna Fáil COWEN in Rahan. And the first meeting they had it under the college trees with the light of the moon.
And the Jesuits?
Yes, that's what they had it. 48 had them joined after a hurling match one evening. The Clavins, the Finnertys, the Cumminses and all. Pat Corcoran was the head man, Roddy Corcoran's father.
And that was the beginning of it?
That was the beginning of it, and we never looked back since.
Now, did we ever think, even awfully, that we'd ever have a Taoiseach in Off, never mind beside us?
But when I was young, did you ever think that we'd win hurling All-Irelands, football All-Irelands? We're after living to see it all now. We're after living to see Brian Cowan, our awfully man, our awfully son, a Taoiseach. What better could
Sure, Vincent Cummins, you summed it all up there, so you did, yeah. Sure, would you like to just say a word to Brian around there?
Brian.
Congratulate him.
I congratulate Brian. He just deserves what he got. No better man for it. And I tell you something, he'll transform the country. And he's coming in at a good time. And I tell you another thing, we're very lucky in Ireland's lucky to have such a man as Brian Cowan coming in at the moment, at the present time, the way the world economy is. If any man steers us to it, Brian Cowan will steer. That's all I have to say.
Seamus Duffy, Brian Cowan's right-hand man here. This must be a proud day for you, Seamus.
Of course it is, yes.
You went round with him for years. Your lifetime.
24 years.
24 years since he was. Can you remember the first day he was elected?
I do, indeed.
Oh, yeah.
He went against Pádraig Horn for the... Pádraig went for Fine Gael and Brian went for Fianna Fáil, and Brian won the by-election.
Pádraig Horn was very popular that time. He was the awfully after winning an All-Ireland that time.
Won All-Ireland 81 and was a very popular man and awfully good hurler. But Pádraig was a good hurler and Brian was a good politician. That was the difference.
And that was the winner.
That was the winner. The politician won out.
This is the highlight of even your career. You never thought in your lifetime, but you always said it every time you made a speech that you wouldn't be happy until Brian Cowan was Taoiseach, and this day has come. Dreams do come true.
Time for me to retire now. I reached the pinnacle and that's it. One step now, that's down.
Seamus, would you like to just say a word in Irish, Aaron? Have you any Irish at all?
Have a little bit of Irish.
Yeah, you have a little bit after.
I'll say it here now.
Would you like to say congratulations to Brian and the Cowan family?
Well, of course, I congratulate Brian, I congratulate Mary, I congratulate Sinead and Maeve, and especially his mother May, who travelled a long road with Bear Cowan, TD, and now she's travelling the same road with her son Taoiseach Brian Cowan. And congratulations to May. She must be the proudest woman in Clara tonight. An awful tonight.
Seamus, thank you very much. You've been with Brian Cowan since you were
knee high,
and I just want to say one thing. Did you ever think this day was going to come?
Well, we did. I think we did, really. Do you know, in hindsight, this day was going to come. Honest to God, it's a fantastic day. Sure, Ricky, we're really so emotional. It's overwhelming. It's great. It's fantastic.
Isn't it after giving Clara a waffle lift and yeah?
Why wouldn't she? He's coming home. Our son is coming home, and it'll be great to see him coming in and bringing him up to town.
This is going to be the highlight, isn't it, Liz? The whole.
Oh Lord, it really will be. I mean, he's had to do one everywhere today, and now he's heading home. And to see him going up to town, that's, it's very emotional.
Liz, thanks a minute.
It's Christy Cowan here, Brian's brother, here in our pub in hometown in Clara. We're just getting ready now to welcome Brian home. Everyone is very excited. Town looks very well. I hear he's in, where's he? Eden Derry. He's in Derry and he's on his way back to Tullamore, I think, for a civic reception. And from then on, then he's ours, and we'll have him all day and all night if we have to. They're all getting ready here in the pub here, Ricey Scully Radio 3. We had Joe Rabbit singing, and we had Pascal Mooney, Pascal Brennan, John Hogan was playing, and there's a few more to come yet. So there'll be plenty of the crack here in Clara all day, and preferably all night too, I suppose. And the weather is not too bad. It's overcast a bit, but once it stays dry, we'll have a right time. And we're all here in the yard here. Hope to have it full up before 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I suppose, anyway. Sure, we'll keep it going till then. I'd also like to welcome home my mother's 2 sisters, Patsy and Nuala, who are home from America. And my late father's two sisters are here, Patricia and Mary is home from England as well too. And it's I'd like to just mention my mother as well too, because it's a great day for her, a very proud day. Sad in ways, but she's over the moon, and she's looking forward to meeting Brian when he comes home. And the first port of call, of course, is here to see his mother, and we're just waiting for that time to come. So you all get ready, come to Clara. You'll be all more than welcome.
So here we go, heroes with ghosts, one man's mood can break another man's soul. Or am I just too cynical for my own good? Am I too scared to say we'll get there if we should? And you know it's harder than it looks. It's harder than it looks. But I know it's gonna take a lot of time and a little bit of luck. But it's beginning to happen. It's beginning to move. And I've seen a reaction. Yeah, I've watched us improve. And you could say we don't care, or that we don't believe, but this is what we've got, and there's nowhere we'd rather be. And you know these roads, they could take us to the start. From the shadows you're cast to play the part. So don't grow old forgetting who you are. A simple goal could get you very far. And you know, you know that it's harder than it looks. It's harder than it looks. But I know it's gonna take a lot of time and a little bit of luck, but it's beginning to happen. It's beginning to move. And I've seen a reaction. Yeah, I've watched us improve. You could say we don't care, or that we don't believe, but this is what we've got. There's nowhere. It's beginning to happen. It's beginning to move. I've seen a reaction. Now we've so much to prove. You could say we don't care, or that we don't believe, but this is what we've got. There's nowhere we'd rather be. Just cynical for my own good. Am I too scared to say we'll get there if we should? We'll get there if we should.
This is indeed a historic evening for Clara Town. Clara's most famous son returns home. However, this celebration goes further than our town tonight. It goes further than our county. It goes to the Great Cullen in the Carlow border, back to the Swan and into Port Leash. It involves the entire constituency of the Laois Offaly. We are here this evening to welcome home on Taoiseach Brian Cowen. We have been fortunate in Offaly to have had many great occasions over the past 40 years. Cowen elected TD in 1969. Our county and football players bring home 7 All-Irelands in the past 40 years on the hurling and football fields. And now we have Brian Cowen from Clara, leader of the country. I am privileged to have known Brian for many years, probably about 40. I have followed his political career since he was elected to the council seat in 1984. It has been a long road, but from the beginning we knew where that road would go. Those who travelled on that road with him are no longer here. A lot of those people are no longer here. Those who canvassed day and night, those who stood by him through long election counts. To them but a few: Paddy Fitzpatrick, Willie Dignam, Catch Feehan, Tom Keefe, Tom Newman, Eamon McRedmond, Kevin Mannion, Joe Keefe and Tom Finn. There are of course many more. There are of course many more who walked that road with Brian, and how proud they would be here to be here tonight. We have followed Brian's political career from his election to the local council seat to the most powerful seat in Dáil Éireann. We have watched as he excelled in his many ministerial portfolios and fought many a political battle. We are honoured to welcome him home here as Taoiseach. Nia has travelled that long road with her husband, the late Bear, TD, and now with her son, Taoiseach Brian Cowen. She must be the proudest woman in Ireland, and rightly so. I would also like to take this opportunity on behalf of the Cowen Fianna Fáil Common to wish Brian, Mary, Sinead and Maeve good health, good luck and a long life on the road ahead. We may be facing choppy waters, but if ever there was a captain in Ireland to sail the ship, that man is Brian Cowen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I will call on the first speaker here tonight, Pádraig Boden, Chairman of the Offaly Ceollar Dáil.
Taoiseach, the pride we in Offaly feel in your elevation as an Offaly person to such high office is surpassed only by our knowledge of your peerless capacity to lead our country at this time. We are of course proud of your Offaly heritage and roots deeply planted in the Bog of Allen, linking you intrinsically, not just with the ordinary people of contemporary Ireland, but giving you an insight into, an innate empathy with, and an immense respect and graw for the men and women who have passed this way before. It is a hugely proud day for all of us in Offaly Fianna Fáil, and I am conscious of my predecessors in the chair of that organisation who were never blessed with this marvellous opportunity. I think this evening too of Brian Cowen's predecessors in this county, for not only has An Taoiseach become the 7th leader of Fianna Fáil, he has since 1984 been the 7th Offaly man to represent our party and our constituents in Dáil Éireann. I think of Duncairn's Dan Hogan, who was elected in 1938 and gave us 5 years of service in Dáil Éireann and many more in the Shannon. We remember too KP Egan of Banagher, victorious in 3 elections and 9 years in Dáil Éireann. We cannot but recall Croghan's Nicholas Egan, who fought 4 successful elections on our behalf, serving 15 years in Dáil Éireann. We of course recall Brian's father Bear, who served the people of this constituency in Dáil Éireann, winning 5 elections in a Dáil career spanning 15 years until his untimely death in 1984. We acknowledge too, of course, that great political warrior and Brian's county colleague in the Dáil for 13 years, Ger Connolly, who retired in 1997. This shy, unassuming man retired in 1997, undefeated in 9 successive elections. It was with particular pride this evening that I recall Offaly's very first Fianna Fáil TD. I remember Pat Boland, elected in 1927, my own granduncle, for the first time, who successfully fought 10 successive elections. Now, Jared, put that in your pipe and smoke it. Living up to this tradition of service was never going to be easy, and we required someone special. And we in Offaly Fianna Fáil have long since appreciated our good fortune in engaging Brian Cowan to take on that task. In Brian Cowan, we got a man with remarkable sense of self and sense of place, comfortable with and proud of who he is and where he's from. Brian Cowan marries that self-knowledge with an intellect unrivaled in political circles today in Ireland and well beyond these shores. Taoiseach, our pride today is as much in your calibre as in your county, in your character as much as in your community. We know you and we know what you stand for, and we're immensely proud of it. You're a family man who witnessed firsthand the sacrifices your mother May made, the one she had to make, to ensure that your father could live a life of public service. You are first to acknowledge that Mary, Sinead and Maeve must share your political vocation. Otherwise, they wouldn't survive the sacrifice required, and you would spend each and every day stepping over barriers to perform the duties your country demands. Our pride in you was never more pronounced than when your family participated at the core of your most important day. And we commend you for bringing your family to Áras an Uachtaráin. It spoke volumes of the man that you are. Mary Cowan understands the demands of political life better than most of us, and your daughters are two ladies, young ladies, of whom any parent would be proud. I have accompanied many a canvasser in my time, Taoiseach, but none better than your good wife. Her capacity to empathise with people has served you and us in Fianna Fáil well. They say opposites attract, but in how both of you suffer fools, that's not true. I will never forget, and nor will I allow Mary to, the day that I confused 2 bungalows next door to each other in Forban and assured Mary Cowan at the gate, "We're sound here, Mary." The false sense of security leaving her totally unprepared for the onslaught she faced on behalf of Brian. Let's just say that when it was all over, and that took quite a while, the person with least scars of battle was Mary Cowan. And I can tell you, I had my homework done before I accompanied her again. Taoiseach, we in Offaly Fianna Fáil know your beliefs and your values. You are a proud Republican and patriot. You bring to the office of Taoiseach the Republican values of social justice and equalities, values based and embedded in the Constitution of this Republic. These are not now some antiquated luxury. We'll start that one again. These are not now some antiquated, old-fashioned, we'll call them old-fashioned, luxuries. But part of what we Irish are, and part of what we Ireland has to offer as a full participant to our European brethren as part of our community that is now Europe. This Ireland that you envisage is an Ireland that values community and civic participation in society, that wears our Republican badge proudly. You bring to the office of Taoiseach values that have served us well historically and that is every bit as relevant today as in our glorious past. They are values that ensure that we don't become a selfish, individualistic society that fragments, but rather one that promotes the values of solidarity, of community, of dignity, and of human decency. All values that you display, Taoiseach, in good stead. Just two more comments to make. The first is my surprise at the surprise of the smooth transition of power within Fianna Fáil and the unity your sole nomination as our leader, and your unity as your sole nomination as our leader. But those who looked at this failed to understand one pertinent fact. If only one outstanding candidate of peerless capacity to do the job emerged, of course there was going to be unity, of course there was going to be a smooth transition. Finally, Taoiseach, reading some of the papers, it would just be a pity that you don't share the same interests as your people. You would be far more in tune with us if you were an avid follower of Scunthorpe United than possessing your genuine and informed interest in Gaelic games. You need to spend more time concentrating on cricket than on your love of joining the ordinary punter at the Greyhound track or at the Kilbeggan racetrack. You'd be far more in tune with the Irish people if you attended opera regularly rather than belting out a ballad or a jig on the button accordion. Taoiseach, if only you were a man of the people, you'd have it all. Gareth Mina Mahagaf.
Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is the President of the Ceola Dáil, Gerard Connolly.
It is a privilege and an honour for me to be here this evening to speak to you on this momentous occasion. I have been here in Clara on all elections, and even since I left Dáil Éireann, this organisation here in Clara has invited me along on the eve of the elections to speak on behalf of the party here in this town and in this constituency of Laois Offaly. As you know, I was the director of elections for the party in 1984, and along with our team, some gone to their eternal reward, we put on a mighty campaign in that election. Some in the media had doubts about us, but I had never any doubts about us. I had never any doubts about our candidates. I had never any doubts about the organisation. I had never any doubts about Fianna Fáil in Laois Offaly. And remember, we have been the dominant party in 4 decades here in this constituency. And that must go to our councillors, our organisation, the ordinary people who rally to us on the cause. And when I asked for their response in '84 and asked the organisation with me, they responded magnificently on that occasion. And that being so, you were elected on the first account. That is all what it's all about. Here in Laois Offaly, we have a very good organisation, a very good machine. We don't stand for any nonsense. What you see, you get from us. If you don't like it, you know what to do. But that's the way it is. I was here in Clara with the late Bercown, and then subsequently worked very well together in Dáil Éireann. Subsequently then with his son, Brian. Today is what I call the pivotal of my career. The pivotal of my career. It was something I knew that Brian was going to go very well. Very well. I knew he was going to go up the ranks, and Wednesday last saw that completed. You take over at this period now. I wish you well in that leadership of our country. I know you will be competent. and take the decisions in the best interest of this country. And I want to say to our people now, and I speak as maybe a veteran of the party, and I ask parents of this country, students, employees, employers, show leadership, because we'll show it, and we expect it from you. Be responsible and be honourable, and then this country will go forward. Go very much forward. I saw bad times in this country, but we have now turned the corner. We are now a nation that's able to stand on our own in Europe, leaders in industry, agriculture, all the essential parts of our country that we depend on. We are leaders in that now. In conclusion, Brian, I wish you good health, every happiness, and above all, I know what you'll do. Good government and good leadership. Go to Margaret.
Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is Deputy Sean Fleming.
How do you follow that? I'll tell you, if Gerard's staying going, there'll be no sign of me or Maloney or any of the rest of us. And after a performance like that, I'd be afraid you might make a comeback. But anyway, Taoiseach and fellow friends and supporters of Briancown and Fianna Fáil, it's a tremendous honour for me to be here in Clara. I must confess, it's a long way from the village of the Swan in South County Laois on the Carlow-Kilkenny border all the way here to Clara, but I can see friendly faces out there. Whether you're a Laois person or an Offaly person, we're all the one here today. I want to wish Brian on your behalf every success in his new job, and above all, I want to say a special word to Mary and the family, because they have taken on a very important role, and they will be role models for every family in Ireland for the next generation. And I wish you my sincere goodwill and good wishes and prayers in that job you have ahead of you. I'm going to be brief because the main man is coming in a minute, but I do want to say we have a tremendous lot of local people here today, but we do have people from outside the constituency, and I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The Taoiseach might have been elected, Briancown might have been elected Taoiseach last Wednesday in Dáil Éireann, May 2008, but everybody in Laois Offaly has known for a long time that that was on the cards for many a long year. Every one of us, his colleagues in the constituency and parliamentary party, we knew it was just a matter of time. But last May, 12 months ago, the people of Laois Offaly had their choice, had their chance to give their view on that issue, and with the 19,000 votes, they told the people of Ireland 12 months ago that the Taoiseach is the man from Offaly. I will say he got a massive vote in Offaly, but he got a little help from the Laois people as well on that day. But that's okay too, because we got the numbers twos back in their drove, so we're all happy with that, and the outcome was great. Now I do want to say that Brian taking over the task of Taoiseach, I honestly believe no other person has moved into that office as uniquely prepared for that task. People would often say about new people going into a job, how will they get on, how will they measure up? But from the moment he was voted in as Taoiseach, you could see he had the stature of the position, and he's well fit to do the job, and we have no doubts about his ability for the future.
Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is another Laoisman, Deputy John Maloney.
Chairman Sean, fellow friends and members of Fianna Fáil and members of the Oireachtas and local authorities. I've been coming to final rallies or celebrations here in Clara since 1969. And I think, like the media today, one thing we always notice is the tremendous pride that people in this town and this county hold for Briancown years ago, his grandfather Christy and O'Brien. But I'd like to assure people that pride is not confined to County Offaly. In fact, it's throughout the constituency, and I can go so far as to say throughout the country. nor is it confined to Fianna Fáil. Many times today and over the last few days since Brian's election, the number of people who had not been supporters of Fianna Fáil, and people are entitled to their own show of support, have welcomed the fact that we have somebody from the Midlands who has proved himself by way of courage, conviction and ability since he entered Dáil Éireann 24 years ago. I also would like to point out to people, and I know that Brian Cowen is not a man for praise and certainly not public praise, but I think it speaks volumes that somebody can become the leader of Fianna Fáil, Uachtarán Fianna Fáil, become Taoiseach of the country, and never, as it were, step on one political toe on the way to high office. And I also want to recognise all of the Laois people here today. And yes, no doubt Brian Cowen once again did secure 3,500 votes in Laois. But nobody can say he knocked the door or made a phone call or looked for it. Again, the very natural ability that he has shown was fit to attract that strong support. And for that very reason, I intend going down to the small church in Grafton Street from now on a very regular basis to pray that John Gormley will reverse the decision and separate Laois off Laois. Because I will be very, very concerned next time out. But nevertheless, I also want to be associated in the recognition of so many people who have been with Brian Cowen. And I see Mrs. Cowen, Brian's mother, across the way. We have met Mrs. Malloy, all of the combined Cowen and Malloy family, as well as Christy, and as well as Barry, Sinead and Maeve. And the extended family is a huge honour, a huge pride, but most of all, people are reflecting back across the long memories that they have of Christy Cowen and so many of the Cowens. Before I finish up, I made a point that so many people have travelled, and I have looked around today and seen people from all political persuasion, and that must make a definite mark. I've seen young and old, and we've all heard of Brian's commitment over the years to the young and the old. And if I may say, I'm looking down at a lady, Mrs. Tynan of Gary Heather, an octogenarian here from her sick bed in a wheelchair. That proves the level of conviction and commitment. It proves something that that woman and so many other people see for the future. And in all of the issues that matter, this man has to be remoulded or manufactured. He's grown up among his own people in Offaly. He knows what he has to, and I don't use that word deliver, he knows what he as head of government wants to achieve. And whilst he's often, and so often, keen to quote Sean Lemass, I make a prediction that in the future generations, along with Sean Lemass and Eamon de Valera being quoted, I am quite certain that Brian Cowen will be amongst those as well. And I say that again, not from a sense of false praise, but reflect and remember all of his public utterances. Loyalty, integrity, honesty, and most of all, there might be a swanky word for this part, but no gimmicks. And that's what you've got, and that's what will help us, I firmly believe. Let me be the first to predict, not alone are we going to hold our 3 seats down here next time out, but I believe from the wealth and the upsurge of support and loyalty and admiration, I think we can say we're coming back here for a 4th administration. So finally, and I really mean finally, it's an absolute privilege to be on this platform this evening, and it's a greater privilege to be asked to speak. Thank you very much indeed.
Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is a brother of the Taoiseach, Councillor Barry Cowen.
Thanks very much, Seamus. On Taoiseach, ministers, deputies and senators and councillors, people of Clara and far beyond, it is with great distinction and honour and pride that I stand here before you this evening and join with these other distinguished speakers to welcome home one of our own, Brian Cowen. I'm also mindful of the goodwill and the support that has been evident across the political divide in this region over the last number of days, and particularly since Wednesday. In recent weeks and days, it's as if Offaly has come of age. There's a feeling of pride, a pride of place. There's confidence in our ability, a willingness to succeed, and a win mentality. It reminds me of Ireland as a nation when it came of age for my generation in the early 90s. Ireland competed for World Cups. Irish culture and music was celebrated. Irish entrepreneurship was evident at home and abroad. Our nation had a can-do mentality, and we flourished. Emigration was replaced by immigration, and Bertie Ahern assumed power. The corrective economic measures of the Haughey O'Malley coalition began to bear fruit. The Good Friday Agreement was cemented, which was to lead to peace in our time. What we saw in summary was peace, prosperity and progress. We saw Fianna Fáil united and unified in government and effecting change. For this, we must salute, pay tribute and thank our previous leader, our previous Taoiseach, Bertie Ahern. Also in the last couple of days, I've been reminiscing and considering the early life and subsequent career to date of Brian. I've been considering our own family life and our surrounds as we grew up in Clara. Brian spoke on Wednesday in his acceptance speech of the political grounding that he had received from our father, Bear, and our grandfather, Christy. That grounding also emanated from his schooling at the Franciscan National School here in Clara and at Art School Kieran. His subsequent schooling and political shaping took place under the tutorage of our uncle, Father Andrew, and the Cistercians in Roscrea. Our parents and the extended Cowan and Weir families instilled in us many virtues. They expected and taught hard work. They respected democracy and loyalty. They valued religion, encouraged social interaction via sport and music, and instilled the values and the benefits of education. All these components are ever so most evident in the character of Brian Cowan. Our grandfather, Christy Cowan, was a local founding member of Fianna Fáil. He was a devout Republican and long-serving councillor. Our father, Bear, was a quiet, popular but unassuming councillor, later deputy and junior minister. He was first and foremost a loyal and dedicated public servant. He grew his vote in 6 consecutive general elections, despite losing one. He turned a marginal constituency for Fianna Fáil into a formidable electoral machine. His sudden death cast a shadow on this locality, but the commitment that he had shown to Fianna Fáil and to his constituents allowed an opportunity for a successor to regain that seat. That successor, thanks to the Laois Offaly Fianna Fáil delegates, was to be a young, newly qualified solicitor from Clara called Brian Cowan. Subsequently, the electorate gave a resounding vote of confidence that this son of Bear Cowan might bring the level of public service personified by his father to a new level. Once elected and afforded this opportunity, he has, I'm sure you'll agree, shown political pedigree. He is a Republican in its truest form, who portrays Fianna Fáil's commitment to a secure, peaceful country and society, offering its people the opportunities of education, unification and peace where its young can flourish. They can be successful in their own country and provide for our sick and elderly, and ultimately pass on a continuously improving republic. Albert Reynolds recognised this man's intellect, commitment and ambition. He appointed him to cabinet, and we have seen since an impressive rise through ministerial ranks over the last 16 years. He has amassed much experience, as has been said, and has successfully negotiated 3 programmes for government. He has the unanimous and absolute support of his party. Finally, if I could share what was up to now a private moment way back in 1984. Just as our dad died, Brian cried that he wouldn't let him down. He hasn't let him down, and I'm sure that he won't let you down. And I want to... Not only will he not let you down, he won't let this country down. And I can say, as a brother from this platform, congratulations, welcome home, and the best of Irish luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've heard a lot of good speakers here tonight, but I think we all are waiting for the main speaker. He was recently voted the best politician in Ireland. He is said to be a safe pair of hands in difficult situations. He is arguably the most skilled politician in Dáil Éireann, who embodies the best qualities of the Fianna Fáil party. He is the undisputed leader of Fianna Fáil. He is the president of the Fianna Fáil party. He is Taoiseach of Ireland. He represents the Laois Offaly constituency, and he's a Clara man, our Taoiseach. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Bercown Fianna Fáil COWEN, I am honoured to introduce to you tonight on Taoiseach Brian Cowan.
Gormahagiv. A Chahirlig, Ari, Yachti, a Chahirlig Shanadern, Canara Shanadern, Yanadori, a Chorlori, Gwyn Usla Galer, Winter Ivali, Winter Clara. It is a great pleasure for me to stand here in the fair green of Clara and look out and see so many people who epitomise and represent the hopes, the aspirations of not only the people of this locality, not only the people of this county and constituency, but the people who have offered me throughout the length and breadth of this country over the past number of days and weeks their very best wishes, their prayers, their hopes, their expectations. And I want to thank all of you people and all of the people that you represent for offering those good wishes to the office of Taoiseach, and not just to me, the person who happens to hold that office. Because in this republic, in the parliamentary democracy that we have strived to establish, the office of Taoiseach is one that is constitutionally required to lead and direct government in this country, based on the popular and democratic mandate of the people themselves. And for me, it will always be a privilege and a pleasure to come to this, my home place, and to say to you once again, as I've said from every public platform seeking your support, that I can only promise you one thing, that I will give you all of my effort, all of my endeavour, that I will work with everybody in government and indeed everyone in Parliament whose job it is to do their job from the opposition benches, to give you a vibrant and energetic democratic to give you a vibrant and energetic democratic life in this country, to engage in a conversation with the nation about who we are and where we're going, about what the priorities should be, about how we organise this society, about how we decide going forward that we keep dignity for our elderly, that we look after those who need our help and are vulnerable. And we also know that government is about also leading. It's about listening. It's about giving example. And it's also about calling on people to meet their own responsibilities as individual citizens as well. Because in this country, we're not simply consumers. We're not simply people who go through the everyday life without a stake in this society. We are citizens of this republic. And with rights and entitlements have come obligations and responsibilities. Whether we are individual workers giving the very best to our employers to earn our crust, whether we are employers required to give proper working conditions to those under whose responsibility people work for them, whether we are young students whose job it is to take up and grasp the opportunity of the investment in education that will provide them with an education commensurate with the best of the world, whether we are parents whose job it is to rear our children and inculcate values that will sustain them in good times and in bad, whether in fact we are the elderly who have come through and seen so much progress in this country, who have come through hard times and who have passed on to us from those periods of adversity the values that are just as germane and relevant in this age of prosperity. This is the country we want to build. A country of caring, compassionate communities. A country of citizens who look beyond their own narrow self-interest and who will look to the wider community interest to improve our quality of life and ensure social harmony. And when people talk about quality of life and getting ahead in this world, then the one thing we know more than any other from our civic and religious heritage in this country is that it is only by giving that we receive. It is only by stretching ourselves beyond our own self-interest that we'll find fulfillment in our lives. It is only by being part of a community, part of something bigger than ourselves, that we will have the sort of life that we hope for ours and our children. And that is what politics has to be about in this country. I've said in the Dáil that politics is about public service. And we need to talk about patriotism. We need to talk about service. We need to understand that unless we are prepared to move beyond our own self-interest, then the great opportunity that is available to this generation, that was not available to previous generations, that unless we do that, we will pass by in our own time and leave behind a whole reign of missed opportunity. Because let's remember, when you think back about the psyche and memory and history of what it is to be Irish, in the past, the political narrative of this country was about grievance and impoverishment, about lack of opportunity, about people forced to leave our shores through force of circumstance and lack of opportunity. And that wider Irish diaspora, who went away with nothing but their values and certainly very little in their pocket but a lot in their heart, those people went and contributed and participated in other societies and made a home and a life for themselves and came back to this country, many of them, and sent remittances back to this country, many of them, to ensure that those who stayed would have the prospect of some semblance of prosperity themselves. And the whole thrust of the independence movement which it is our legacy to cherish and to remould and to fashion in our own time. The whole legacy of that movement, from which has sprung all of the main political parties in this country. And I welcome everyone of every political persuasion here this evening, who do me the honour of their presence. But the whole thrust of that independence movement was to give to the Irish people a sense that they could, through their own freedom of action, decide their own destiny, that they could escape from the provincialism of empire and bring about a chance of an independent Ireland, an Ireland that could fashion itself based on its own culture, its own traditions, its own belief in civilized living as it knew it. And that is what we are here today to talk about. We are here to talk about those things, not because we should live in the past, but we must draw inspiration from the source of what it is we are today, so that we can understand how we are to go forward in a changing world, a world that is changing at a pace and level of acceleration unknown in human history. There have been more changes in the world in the last 2 decades than there was in the previous 2 centuries. The information and communications technology revolution that has shrunk our world to a global village, that has made sure that the markets that we can now look to and exploit are not simply geographically limited by those close to us, as was the case for hundreds of years with our relationship with our nearest neighbour, but now opening up to Europe and the wider continent, which has been reunited in our own lifetime after the implosion of totalitarianism in the East. And the fact that we have now a global reach in our Irish economy based on the inward investment strategy that has been so successful to give jobs to our people commensurate to their talents and abilities. That is the country we live in today. And as I say, the first priority of my administration is to make sure that you, the people, the citizens of this republic, are not indifferent to what is happening on the 12th of June. That you send the right signal to the world that has given us the wealth and the markets and the goods and the services that by which we prosper. That we will not send a signal to others, like the 10 new states which have become members of the European Union during our presidency in 2004, who, through the progressive forces in those countries, looked to the European Union as the means by which they could escape from the limitations of totalitarianism, where they didn't ingress themselves back into a new totalitarian narrow nationalism, but they took on democratic values and gave dignity to each citizen in those countries which were denied since the Second World War. What I'm saying is that the vision of La Masse 45 years ago, as a means of breaking our fixation with our nearest neighbour, to look beyond Britain and see in Europe the possibility of us exploring and exploiting our potential in new and different ways. Now, as we have been members of that union for the past 35 years, for heaven's sake, let us not send a signal of indifference to those who have the opportunity and who look to Ireland as the model for development. Let us make sure that the opening up that was fundamental to that strategic change in Ireland's fortunes, that we would in fact compete in the world, that we would not isolate ourselves from those turbulences that are the facts of life in modern world today, that we have the ability and capacity, if we organize ourselves sufficiently, to overcome those problems, to ride those waves of concern, to get beyond the parapet and the narrow vision of those who would have us recoil and resile. And let us also remember, as I go back to the point about our diaspora, the narrative in this country is changing fundamentally. It is changing fundamentally because we are no longer the most dispersed nation in the world. We are becoming one of the most diverse nations in the world. And people have come to our shores as previous generations of Irish men and women went elsewhere too to make a positive contribution. And there are some shrill voices in the public debate who would have us say that this shouldn't be happening. But let us remember that in the modern world in which we live, that is more interconnected than ever before, that the people, the new Irish who have come to our shores, who represent the employees of 30% of the hotel and leisure and catering industry, 1 in 8 in the manufacturing industry, 1 in 7 in construction, that all these people are coming to add to our capacity, to bring a new sense of Ireland and excitement, and not to be listening to those who would narrowly have us resile and recoil back to another time and another day. Let us move forward. Let us move forward with the same generosity of spirit that has made this nation great in so many lands around the world. And let this country not become an impulsive, selfish nation, because it is not the character of our people. It will require leadership. It will require us to get out and beyond those concerns and fears and those who would seek to inculcate prejudice. The new republicanism of Ireland is about a pluralist, inclusive vision. And perhaps we might learn that there are many in our society historically who have remained at the margins for too long. And perhaps by bringing more people to our shores and seeking to accommodate and assimilate them in the culture we have today, we might learn some lessons about how we bring people who have traditionally and consistently been at the margins, to bring them into the centre of our concern, to give them the full expression of citizenship that the leaders of 1916 gave for every child in this country, for every person in this country. I believe that the people of this country will respond positively to this heralding change that is coming all around us. That we will not be overwhelmed by it, that we will not negative against it, that we will move beyond it. Because that is how one marshals change. That is how one turns change into prosperity and into enrichment and into a greater sense of diversity. Because let us remember, after years and generations in our own land of trying to find a way to conduct a dialogue with those whom we opposed politically on this island, who had the same right to stay here as we had, but unfortunately we were unable to devise political structures of sufficient complexity and diversity to ensure that they could feel at home too. It is a wonder to me that on my first day as Taoiseach, I went to Belfast and I sat down with international investors from the United States and elsewhere, and sat beside the First Minister, Dr. Paisley, and the Deputy First Minister, Martin McGuinness, and the Prime Minister of Britain, Gordon Brown. And here we were, trying to encourage more people to come to our country, to realise that we can do more together than separately, to refuse to take on that provincial idea that in some way the cake is just so big and the rest of us have to look after our own plot. Surely it is about this country coming together, as we have found we can do under the leadership of Bertie Ahern and the excellent work of Albert Reynolds and his predecessors, to make sure that we have found a way now to conduct a civilised dialogue, to put away the rifles and the bombs and the bullets, to ensure we have no more injured or harmed or maimed in our country, but that we will now work, as John Hume said, by the sweat of our brow, to help build a country that we can all be proud of. That's the Irish republicanism that I espouse. So let us, at the birth of this new administration, let us gird our loins, let us straighten our backs, let's put a bit of backbone into our politics that says we will face down those shrill voices, we will face down those who would say we will be overwhelmed by change. We will in fact fashion change ourselves. We have the people and the resources, with the education, the capability and the natural genius of our own country and nation, to face up to whatever is out there and to do what has to be done in the interests of our country. And the reason why I think like that, it is born out of experience. I remember when I started my political career in 1984. I remember the Ireland we were in then. I remember the thousands and tens of thousands of my generation who left undocumented to try and make a living somewhere else, who had to go by watch the doors and change the checks in the bars and maybe come home for a championship match if they could and get back out and hope they weren't caught. that sort of messing and shadowing that went on, because we had a sense of defeatism in this country. We had this sense that we were losing control of our own destiny. We were actually questioning our capacity to overcome the difficulties that we were confronting. And I say to this new generation today, don't listen to the cynic and the skeptical voices that suggests that being a citizen is an optional extra, or that suggests that voting is something you should do indifferently, if at all, or to suggest that our public space, that the public life of this country is bereft of idealism or a sense of public service. I can say to you, for all our flaws and for all our efforts, that everyone I know in politics, of whatever political persuasion, is out there to do the best they can by the community they represent. And when the electoral contests are over, and when we put the swords back in their scabbards, and when we look out to the people when they have made their choice, then the duty is on every party, on every partisan, to look beyond his own narrow party interest and to come up with solutions to solve the problems, which is why the people put us there in the first place. And the only thing that by which we can do that is not only to display unity, but also to display discipline. The only way you can ensure you can fulfill new hope is to have a renewed sense of purpose. And I will say, for as long as I am in public life, and I have always said, that I will come before the people, and I will give you my analysis of the way things are. And I will take whatever temporary adjustments have to be made to avoid permanent damage being done to our economy and our society. And I have to make sure that in that context, we make sure the most vulnerable and the weakest are not the casualties of that correction. That is the whole genius of politics, how to find a way around those problems. And I will require the help and support and assistance and commitment of every individual citizen in this country to make sure we come through these times to be even fortified and stronger than we were before. And the only way that happens is through solidarity, through a sense above ourselves that we are part of a community, that we are part of a nation, and that as we try to improve ourselves, we have to make sure that we lift all boats, that we can in fact have a better life when others get the same chances of ourselves. When we deal with inequality of opportunity, when we deal with historic disadvantage, that is something that fulfills and enriches us when we take the right policy choices. And I believe that people respond to that type of politics, because that is the heartbeat of the Irish nation today as it was in the past. And the reason I believe that is that the values in our adversity, the values when we had impoverishment and forced emigration and lost opportunity, which is about family, which is about sticking together, about being loyal to our community and our sense of place, our ability to use our music and our song and our dance and our culture to overcome some of the problems of everyday life and the mundaneness of everyday life, that was always an enriching experience for us all. And that it's not all about how much is in your pocket, that it's more about how much is in your heart. And politics today is about getting the people to look into their heart to do the right thing. So as I conduct this physical journey through my county and my constituency today, and as I thank the hundreds and the thousands who have come out to wish me well, and to wish me well in my endeavours on your behalf, I have only two things to say. I will not breach your trust. I've never done it in 24 years, and I'm not going to do it in the next 5 or 6. And what I say is that I will lead from the front. And I believe our young people, especially our young people, who are the people who can shape the future, the people who will decide how Ireland goes during the course of this century. Let us always, through our example as older people, give them the chance to grow up, the chance to enjoy life, the chance to see the benefit of sport and comradeship, the chance to build character, the chance to be educated, the chance to also be compassionate, to look after their parents when they become elderly, to take on their own responsibilities, to be proud to look after their own because their own looked after them. That's what we want in Ireland today. And I believe with the right leadership, what I call the responsible society, the people who take on their own responsibilities individually, Because we cannot vicariously decide that someone else will parent our children. Someone else will look after their education. Someone else will look after this and look after that. It is about us looking into ourselves and saying, how can we build? How can we construct? How can we make them well-adapted people in the more difficult and more complex world than the world that we grew up in, where there was authority and there was a sense of place and fixed ideas. The whole purpose of change now is not to say that it's going to overwhelm us. It is about recognizing and analyzing that in the world in which we live, it renews a sense of responsibility. It makes us increase our sense of awareness for what our individual responsibilities are as citizens. And I think if we go from that starting point, and if we respect those in the caring professions who are in our health service and help them to come up with new ways of doing the things to avoid the service pressures that are making it difficult in their work life as they're making it difficult for the patients who require the service. And in social partnership, whether it be the trade union movement, the employers, the farm organisations, the voluntary organisations, or indeed government, we have agreed that what we need to do is put the citizen at the centre of our concern. We set up these services not to the benefit and convenience of us who provide them, but for those who need them. And we need localised, flexible responses that make sure we can deal with the problems that people face when they genuinely require help and assistance. That public services and the reform of public services is something on our agenda, not because we don't believe in the public service ethic, because I do, but because I believe we need to bring new solutions to age-old problems. We need to ensure that the amounts of money, of taxpayers' money, that we are providing for all of these services get us better output, better outcomes. And it means new thinking. It means new thinking in health. It means new thinking in education. And I ask people not to be taken in by the arguments sometimes shrouded in a common good argument, which is really about entrenched interests. It's about making sure that we get the patient to the centre of our concern in health, that our pupils are at the centre of our concerns in education, that we make sure that those social welfare recipients who require our help have an adequate income for a dignified life, that we make sure that our Gardaí and our army are respected, and that people see in them the guardians of our liberty, and that we show respect and that we take on those criminals with the pernicious drug culture who are trying to destroy our youth in this country. And that we will support voluntary activity, support those who in our communities are giving of their time, the most valuable thing you can do to build up this country is to give of your time to others, to make sure our young people have the opportunity and leisure to build character through sport and activity. It's not just about new buildings. It's not just about new facilities. When we were younger, we went out and we played our football and our hurling or our rugby or indeed Porrick in some cases our cricket. Those who did those things, they did it in order to build character, to enjoy life, to enjoy what sport can give and can bring. And I want our young people, and I've established a new Office of Children and Youth Affairs, and I put Barry Andrews in charge of that job, because I want him to work with the people of his generation, young parents, to be able to get out there and show that we can engage our young people away from an aimless life of drugs and alcohol abuse, and make sure that we take on our responsibilities as parents and show them a better way, a more wholesome way, a way forward for them so that they will enjoy life as we enjoyed it. So tonight is a night of celebration. Tonight is a night of recognition and acknowledgement for our own town. And I want to say to the people at Clara, I couldn't have been prouder. I couldn't have been prouder that rising out of my happened to elevate to this office, that we saw a community response, which is what I call the traditional Clara response, where everyone put their shoulder to the wheel. And we have a beautiful town here and a beautiful environment because we got together. And to be frank, and it's not unique to us here, there was a sense that perhaps we were losing a bit of that. And now this elevation to Taoiseach has given that spur, that catalyst. Let's keep it going. This town has been so good to me in so many ways. My best friends are here. My family is here. My best memories as a young boy are here. The great people who are gone to their eternal reward in the monastery. I learned more behind that counter at the University of Life than I learned in the Incorporated Law Society or UCD, and I didn't go there too often when I was supposed to be there anyway. Well, I learned about character. I learned about genuineness. I learned about camaraderie. I learned about community. I learned about when you're talked out in the black and white, you don't step back. I'm putting it up to you this year. We want to win a championship, and you better win it this year. And from what I hear, you want to pick up after the first outing. The fair juice, Finn Henry's training and pull anyway, so it couldn't be too bad. Took a Clara man to take us on. But genuinely and seriously, have a great night tonight. Enjoy yourselves. But enjoy yourselves without overdoing it. Enjoy yourselves, get home safe. Get up in the morning and look at those whom you love and live with. And let's all be grateful for what we have. There are many families who have difficulties tonight. Many families who have challenged by some of their special kids. People who have bad health. You know, we need to regain a sense of perspective. We live in a wonderful country. We have a great quality of life. Most people who are able-bodied thankfully have a prospect of a job or have a job. More people are setting up their own businesses. Our young people look to us for example. They look to see how we're handling prosperity. And let's make sure we do so responsibly. Let's make sure we get the benefits and gains of prosperity and not waste them away by overdoing things from time to time. Let's enjoy ourselves. Jeez, I was never a killjoy myself. But let us remember, as a country, we have work to do. We can't sit on our laurels. Other countries, other nations, other communities have looked to the Irish experience, and they're getting up in the morning and they're working hard too. So let's make sure we organise ourselves to best effect. Let's be open to change. Let's be prepared to take new things, new initiatives, new ways of doing things. Some will work and some will fail. What about it? The man said he took 10 decisions every day. If 6 of them were right, he was going well. So what I'm saying to you is this. We will make decisions. We will come out and work with you. And there'll be many who will try to say, shouldn't be this way, shouldn't be that way. That's the normal cut and thrust of democratic debate. But remember this, that for so long as I hold this office, and you, the people of Ireland, will decide how long I hold this office, and I will acknowledge and accept that verdict whenever that time comes, with equanimity and with thanks. I will say this, as I did, I hope, when I was togging out for Offaly, or togging out for Clara. I'll leave nothing on the field. I'll give it everything I have. I'll work as a team player. I'll bring all these guys and many more with me and women to help me do that job. To represent you, the plain, the ordinary, the decent people of Ireland. The silent majority who need to have their voices heard too. And I say to you, if we go about this the right way, with a sense of purpose, and take inspiration from those of our own families in the past who faced far greater challenges than this, that we'll overcome this hump and the next hump and the following hump. And we'll have a decent country, a good country, one we can be proud of at home and abroad. Gurmir Mahagiv Galir. That's it, no. Vicky. Every time, all day there. It was in the year of 69, Burke County did get in. He was always fond of politics and deceit, we knew he'd win. And the neighbours from the country round, the farmers big and small, all voted for Burke County, now he's a member of the Dáil. Oh, Burr County is a TD, me boys. Burr County is a TD. And he got Clara swimming pool 'cause it wasn't near the sea. And he built a brand new pub, me boys, and let the old one fall, 'cause it wasn't up to date enough for a member of the Dáil. Now in one night in Mullingar, the greyhound won a race, and you'd know it was a butcher's dog the way he showed his pace. And he wrapped around the track so fast and never once did stall. Sure, the people get the best of it and the greyhound gets the fall. Now the wife may charms the people when she's serving in the bar, and she listens to all their troubles no matter what they are. And they ask her about her politics, she can answer one and all. Sometimes we don't know which of them is a member of the Dáil. Oh, Burr County is a TD, me boys. An undertaker too. With the biggest bloody hearse in town, and you're dead, you'll know it's true. And he'll fit you for a coffin, whether you are big or small. Isn't it nice to know you'll be buried by a member of the Dáil?
Oh yeah, as we said earlier, we're just delighted to be here and delighted to be amongst all our own in bringing Brian home to his native town, and I'm delighted with the reaction that's been here and the support and the goodwill that's been showed by everybody concerned, and it's went off very well, and we look forward to an exciting night and successful leadership and so forth on his behalf.
Well, I can honestly say that this was one of the best days I was ever a member of Fianna Fáil. I can say that being associated with Brian Cowan and Barry and the late Bear and Mary is nothing but a distinct pleasure and an honour. And it's lovely to have such good friends, and it's great to see Brian getting to become Taoiseach, because our whole area depends on it in Westmeath, Offaly, the whole Midlands. And I know that I have a friend when I go in and I have a problem, as I always have had since 1984. And I'm absolutely delighted and thrilled that Brian has become leader of Fianna Fáil, and what a Republican leader of Fianna Fáil he's going to be. And I offer nothing but my heartiest congratulations to Brian and to Mary and to all the family. And I'm here for anything they ever want me to do. It's an honour and a privilege to serve as a member of Fianna Fáil, particularly as leader of the Seanad and at this executive level.
Well, it was a fantastic event. I think the whole of Clara obviously turned out. The one thing that struck me was that I think every premises in the town was painted newly. I'm sure people over the last week, if they stood for too long in the one spot, that probably have been painted as well. But the people did Brian proud, and I've no doubt that Brian will continue to do them proud as Taoiseach. And his address there from the podium was, I think, inspiring for everybody. So a great day for Clara, and I think a great day for Fianna Fáil as well.